Greetings all. This session is designed to get classroom teachers up and running quickly with the Michigan Open Book Project and demonstrates the answers to some of the top questions I receive as project manager of the project. In order of how they'll appear in this video, I'll be covering the following pieces: downloading and distributing the books to your kids, how to use the questions in the book to upgrade your instruction, running with the interactive content in the books, including how to make sure you don't have to doom scroll through the entire book to get back to where you were. I'll also talk a little bit about the Kami plugin, which no matter what your comfort level with the books is, I recommend to everyone that they watch that section because it makes life a ton easier for teachers teaching with Open Book. I'll talk briefly about how to report an issue with any of the interactive content and wrap up with some general background on where to go to find out more. With all that said, let's get started. The Open Book Project started in 2014 as an offshoot of some work that began at the ISD level, and over the course of 4 years, it completed a K-12 set of free, open-source digital textbooks available to teachers all over the country and world, centered around Michigan's social studies standards. Work was done in conjunction with the update to Michigan standards, which means while they're still updating the teachers' correlation guides on the website, they remain aligned with the changes mandated by the revision to Michigan's content expectations. This includes the usage of the C3 framework. All of the texts were written with compelling and supporting questions guiding each chapter, which makes these a valuable tool for lesson planning with the updated expectations in mind. Since the books were first released, we've had a ton of feedback and support from the field, which has kept the books growing and active ever since grant funds expired in 2018. At the end of the day, you should know that these books are free, and with an open source license, you're allowed to take the materials and customize them as needed. Live in an area with a large population of Indigenous peoples? Replace our examples with some local ones of your own. Is your hometown home to a famous civil rights leader that we only mentioned in passing? Expand that section with that person's life story. Do the books not go in the order in which you teach your class? Hey, that's fine. Rearrange all the chapters. You're free to print all or just portions of the text as well. There is no copyright information on these books because they're licensed via Creative Commons. They live forever in the public domain. Now that those nuts and bolts are out of the way, let's get into some of the fun stuff. Downloading and distributing the texts is one of the top questions I get from teachers, and I want to start this off by saying you want to download them and send them to your students versus relying on a direct link to the Open Book website. The reason behind this is small but inconvenient for you on the rare occasions when the internet goes down. The Open Book servers are hosted at Wexford Misaki Intermediate School District, and in the 10 plus years I've worked here, I would say for the first 5, our internet never went down. About 3 years ago, the internet lines were replaced and upgraded, and a place just outside of our office doors has been hit by trucks repeatedly, bringing the internet down for our entire service area and the entire Open Book website for anywhere between an hour and 18 hours at a time before being fixed. I know when this happens almost immediately, whether I'm in the office or not, because teachers who have linked kids directly out to our website to get the books start emailing me in a panic almost instantaneously. While downloading a copy of the book won't get you any missing periods or fixed sentences instantly, Murphy's Law states that as soon as it's inconvenient for you to have a problem, you'll have it. So instead of directly linking to our materials, we ask that you download a copy, preferably the chapter-by-chapter edition, and push it out to your students via your learning management system. To do this, you can head to our website and click on the Download button. Scroll down to your grade level, hover your mouse above the book or chapter you want, and right-click to choose Download Linked File. Again, you'll notice on this screen capture that there's a copy link option, and it looks so tantalizing and easy. Don't do it. Download the linked file. We also recommend that teachers utilize the chapter-by-chapter version, as these represent slightly smaller file sizes and will make sharing them and opening them a lot faster. Once you've downloaded your linked file, we move on to the next step in the process, actually getting it into your learning management system. The image I'm sharing on this slide shows you how to do this in Google Classroom. It's impossible for me to create a video for every learning management system out there detailing the steps, but it's going to be similar to the steps I outline here. You'll want to go in and look for some sort of file share feature. In some LMSs, you might link it as an assignment where it's 0 points for all students to push it out. In some, it might be as easy as dragging and dropping the file itself into the LMS and being on your way. Regardless, in Google Drive, you can see I've gone into my class stream and typed a brief message. Here's chapter 1. And then I clicked on the add button to give them a file. This takes me to an Insert Files using Google Drive window, where I can drag the file I'm looking for directly into this window or click on the Browse button to find it that way. And when finished, you choose to send it to your students. Here's a little pro tip. You can also schedule these posts. Save yourself some time later and schedule future chapters to appear roughly around the time you estimate needing them to appear. You can always change the schedule date if things go wonky. So to recap this section, I recommend either sending directly to your class via Google Drive or Classroom, or using your learning management system to do the heavy lifting for you. This will get a copy of the book into every student's hands that has a device. But, and this is noteworthy, what if students don't have devices, or we're just running things from a laptop cart? What then? I have a ton of teachers who utilize the book as a big book, which they project on the screen. This is totally valid. I have teachers who have printed sections of the book as needed. This is totally valid. I have had teachers who have loaded these onto old iPods and given them to students who needed to take a book home. This is totally valid, though a bit difficult to read. Because these are PDF files, anything electronic can open them. So with getting this to the students out of the way, it's time to turn our attention onto how to actually use this with students. This is actually another one of the top questions I get about the Open Book project. I think there's a theory floating around that an online textbook is different, vastly different in some way from a print textbook, but it really isn't. While there are links to great content that goes deeper into what's printed on the page, at its heart, my answer to those who ask is generally, you can use it the same way you use a regular textbook. One area where that changes, though, is this book's use of compelling and supporting questions. Almost every chapter of every book is centered around a compelling question, with anywhere between 3 and 7 supporting questions that guide students farther. A compelling question, as designed by the C3 framework, which is in our standards, is a big, broad, arguable question that is in student-friendly terms, hence that word compelling. Many of the open book grade levels are supported by an inquiry-based curriculum called GIANTS as well, and while the questions may differ slightly in the focus, the focus all remains the same. We recommend taking time to spend time unpacking a compelling question with your kids at the start of any new chapter. This then becomes part of your assessment at the end. It's literally the focus of the entire chapter, and what a great opportunity you have to assess students' knowledge of a big overarching topic of study than an arguable question that requires students to answer with an evidence-based answer. The next most commonly asked question I get whenever I send an update out to the Michigan Open Book Project listserv, I'm guaranteed to get 3 to 5 responses back within an hour asking me this one. When reading the books in a web browser, everyone's first instinct is to click on an interactive and go. And while that's a good instinct, the reality of web-based reading, which I am unable to fix because every browser handles this differently, means that the book disappears, the interactive appears, and when you hit the back button, you end up back at the start of the book or chapter, forced to doom scroll your way all the way back to where you were. There are 2 solutions to this, and I'll outline the second one later, but the easiest thing you and your students should get in the habit of doing is right-clicking on an interactive and choosing to open it in a new tab or a new window, as you can see on the screen here. Then, when you're finished, poof, you close that window and you're back to where you started from. 0 doom scrolling necessary. I often get bug reports that say this video won't load. We did put a disclaimer on the website that you can see below this video here that most of our videos are embedded content from YouTube, and many districts have blocked YouTube from student computers. While there's nothing we can do about this, if this is the case for you, I recommend you show the videos from a teacher computer, as those are often allowed to go to YouTube, and show it to the whole class if need be. And this brings me to some of the interactive content we built specifically for each book. You'll come across some of these in every book you scroll through. In this example, students have 3 historical figures listed, and there's a chart for them to drag the historical figures into. There's also a check answer button for students to check their work. One thing I want everyone to know is there's no database being constantly updated on my end with a way to export grades. These are built as formative checks along the way. If you want your students to turn in their work to you, I recommend you have them take a screenshot of their work before checking their answer and closing out. Once they've closed out, if they go back in again, they'll be staring at a blank canvas again. These are good formative checks of some of the content, however, and are really good practice for the kiddos. So with some of that out of the way, let me show you some ways to get some additional functionality out of the books by using a free plugin for Chrome, which can be installed on any device, called Kami. Kami is a PDF annotator, and while bringing in some extra functionality into the books, it also solves a couple of other headaches, as I'll mention in a minute. Your tech department can probably push Kami out to Chromebooks, and the basic version of Kami is free. It can be installed for free into Chrome on any other device. Just Google Kami plugin Chrome and you'll be taken where you need to go. So have students open the book from their Google Drive with the Kami plugin. They can do this either by double-clicking, or right-clicking, I should say, and choosing Open with Kami from the preview drop-down, or easier still, they can right-click on the file in their Google Drive and choose Annotate with Kami there. Once you're in Kami, which is pictured here, you can see things like markup, comment, text box, drawing, shapes, and eraser. These are all free options. There's also a dictionary feature, text-to-speech, etc., as available as a paid upgrade. Most of what you need is in the free version, though I recommend you ask your tech department about purchasing some upgrades for students on special education caseloads, as the text-to-speech feature is a great accommodation for students who need it. Here you can see I've used the markup feature to highlight the text. As a digital textbook, you don't have to worry about kids marking up a book that other students will later have to use. This is theirs for perpetuity, which means marking up the text and practicing strategies like talk to the text, etc. are both doable and allowable. Students can add comments to the things they've highlighted as well. This is a really great feature to get for free. Kami also picks you right back up where you started and automatically opens interactive content in new windows. So if you want to get kids in the habit of reading in Kami, interactive content automatically opens in a new tab right out of the box, and whenever you open the file, you pick right back up where you left off. So while you can do the pieces I talked about earlier, I recommend just getting used to reading in Kami via Google Drive, and most of those problems are solved. So just know that like any other online program out there, links can move, links can go dead, links can stop working. There's a bug report both in the books and now available on the website for you to use to notify me of any issues. You can also email me. I'm totally okay with that. These reports do in fact go to an actual person. That's me. And I do spend time fixing them. I get 3 to 4 a week that pan out into problems, and I can usually get them solved in quick succession, assuming I know about them. With an update to the servers currently in process, if you're using a chapter-by-chapter version and don't have easy access to the bug report feature, that button is now also available on the OpenBook website. OpenBook is a great instructional tool. It's free to use, it's free to abuse, and you'll never be charged for using it. Like everything, it's one tool among many. If there's anything I can do to help support you as you begin to implement, please don't hesitate to reach out to me personally at david.johnson@wmisd.org. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attendance, and I hope this was helpful as you continue your Michigan Open Book Project journey. Thank you.